EA gave us Dead Space, while Capcom gave us Dad Space.
I know we're just more than halfway through the year, but already my contender for Game of the Year is Capcom's newest surprise hit, Pragmata. I'll admit it took a while for the game to get my attention following its initial announcement in 2020. New team, new IP, numerous delays. It felt like the deck was stacked against this ambitious new title. But when we started actually learning more about it, my curiosity was piqued. And good thing too, because this game was peak. It felt like it harkened back to the best games of the PS3 and 360 era. The chilling atmosphere, the excellent soundtrack, and especially the relationship that developed between the two protagonists, Hugh and Diana. But let's not forget that this is also a game, and Pragmata delivered on that front as well. The combination of third-person shooter and quick-reaction puzzle hacking was definitely something fresh, and that carries into the game's bosses as well. So today, I'm looking at the bosses of each of the game's 6 sectors, from my least favorite all the way to the top. A lot of personal factors are going into this ranking, between the boss's patterns, how well they test your skills, and whatever other ways they contribute to the experience. Oh, and by the way, there are massive spoilers on this list, so be warned. Alright people, set up your loadout and board the tram, it's game time! Let me start out by saying that none of the bosses in this game were egregiously bad. In fact, even the worst boss in this game has some good points about it. That being said, however, I do have some legitimate issues with the boss fight in Sector 5 against the Sentinel. Mainly, it's basic. Too basic, in fact. All it will do is attack you with various combos with its blade arms. And second, it's a survival fight. You can't do any real damage to it with your weapons, and you don't have Diana for this. That being said, it does make sense given the situation. First major spoiler right here, Diana is still recovering after being infected with a dead filament, aka that nasty goop you've been running into since the previous chapter, and the same gunk that's covering the Sentinel. And you have to hold off this freak until her recovery is complete. As for how Diana ended up in that state, that's another major spoiler for later on. That being said, you do get a better, proper fight against the Sentinel partway through the final sector as a mini-boss. Not only does the Sentinel have more attacks now, including a sword wave attack, missiles, and explosions, but it makes good use of Diana's new cleanse ability. You'll need to cleanse this thing a couple of times so that you can hack the guy cleanly and do some good damage to it. However, as it takes damage, it will eventually attract more dead filament to replenish its supply and try to suck you in the process. Yeah, it's a good mini-boss, but that's kind of the thing. It's more satisfying as a mini-boss than a full-on chapter ender. The real climax of Sector 5 was Diana's recovery and the awakening of her new clutch powers, which she promptly uses to put the bad bot in its place. At least she's okay now, thank God. Sector 3, the Terra Dome, is supposed to be an area for the research of plant life. But clearly, Edis, the resident rogue AI, absolutely sucks at being a gardener, judging by the total overgrowth of the area. As you fight your way through the nasty bots and navigate the artificial flora that have overrun the place, eventually you meet up with 8, another Pragmata and the source of the distress call from the end of the previous chapter. She claims to have some crucial info on how to deal with Edis, but unfortunately, she's a little tied up. To save her, you'll need to restart the limb regulator at the bottom of the area. Of course, Edis isn't about to let you ruin its work so easily. And this thing is in charge of Garden the Garden. The Garden Keeper is smaller than the previous boss, but given the size of the arena, that makes sense. And this design is downright unsettling. A mechanical scorpion with way too many hands for comfort.
You'd think this was a chimera or something.
Its weak points are in its head, belly, and tail, which open up after a successful hack. Of course, you gotta avoid the red danger spaces while doing so. The best time to hack in the first phase is after you dodge a stomp, which it does after an arm swipe. It can also attack with its massive tail, either by swiping at you with it, or slamming it into the ground for an AoE attack. Once you've reduced the Garden Keeper's health by about a third, Diana will warn you about a spike in its energy levels. And it ain't long before you see what those elevated energy levels entail. Let's start with that crimson red lightning coming from its tail to pepper the whole room. Aside from that, it will also climb onto the ceiling to unleash even more attacks, including a laser array from its tail, and throwing stasis mines all over the place, which you'll need to hack in order to deactivate. And when its health gets even lower, it'll send missiles at you that you'll need to hack to send them right back to sender. The new sticky bombs you obtained in this sector are a lot of help in this phase, since the boss's hacking matrix gets bigger here. This is a challenging fight which has you hacking more than just the boss, and its array of attacks will keep you on your toes throughout the fight, and you'll need to look out for the best openings to hack the Garden Keeper so you can go to town. However, I do put it lower because it doesn't have quite as much of a feeling of payoff or uniqueness to this fight. Still, the fight manages to give you a challenge, and as long as you keep your eyes open, you can exterminate this pest for good. I know we put a lot of stock in the importance of the final boss of a game. Trust me, we'll get to that later. But I think sometimes we forget the importance of the game's first boss. It's basically the first gatekeeper into the greater scope of the game, not to mention your first big test of what you've learned thus far. And Pragmata does a good job with its first boss, the Sector Guard. This mechanical mess is deployed by Edis at the end of Sector 1, the solar power plant, as you try to restore power to the rest of the station. Its first main attack is a simple charging attack, which you'll need to dodge in order to avoid, something you should be used to by now. It will usually do that at least twice in succession, after which you'll have a good opportunity to hack it and open up the weak point on its shoulders. It will also attack you with varying degrees of missile volleys, which you'll see the AoE on the ground, so you'll be able to find a safe point on the ground to avoid the blast. It's relatively simple, which is to be expected for a first boss, but it does make sure you've been paying enough attention and learned the basic mechanics of the game. And during the fight, you'll learn two more. After dealing enough damage, Diana will inform you of an opportunity to perform your first critical shot, delivering a powerful jolt straight to the bot's chassis. Later on, when the Sector Guard launches a missile barrage at you, Diana will unleash Overdrive Protocol for the first time, immobilizing the enemy and giving you a chance to do some major damage. So yeah, it's a tutorial boss, but it's a good one, as you'll need to have a handle on the basic gameplay to avoid getting plastered, and the early weapons should be more than enough to take it down. Also, there's a souped-up Sector Guard as a mini-boss in Sector 3, but it's accompanied by a couple of Lancers that get in the way. Not to mention, later, there's Lightning Strikes. Thanks, but I prefer taking on this thing by itself, thank you very much. Okay, this is the boss that changed the most from its original placement. I originally had the creator at the bottom of the list, mainly due to this being the only boss in the game that actually killed me. But that was due to me being a dingus and not noticing something crucial during the fight. More on that in a moment. The creator is the second boss in the game, taking place in Sector 2, the mass production array. Hugh and Diana have been trying to reach the comms tower, making their way through a twisted reproduction of New York City. As you approach the comms tower, Edis responds with controlled violence, by which of course he means a massive twisted robot.
I guess that's what happens when you have an AI running the place instead of an actual human.
Of course, being as colossal as it is, it's not very fast, and that's going to be your biggest advantage. In its first phase, it will attack with sweeping lasers and swipe and slam at you with its massive hands. Thankfully, these attacks are slow and easy enough to dodge as long as you're paying attention. Its weak points are the cooling rods on its face and under its belly, so when you find an opportunity, hack and attack. At least, until it breaks out the antennas. The uncanny executor bots had these, and they can be annoying, but at least they mix up the strategy beyond simply hack and fire away. And this boss has two of these antennas to block your hacking, so you're going to need to get rid of them, preferably with a charge piercer, and there's a few of those lying around. At this point, it also gains another attack, where it creates limb spikes to impale you if you're in the blue circles. Once it hits half health, it becomes capable of spawning 4 antennas, plus it gains its strongest attacks. One of them has it leap to the back of the arena and create a massive limb wave that you have to run to the other side in order to avoid being skewered by it. And finally, its full ground cover laser array. This attack caused me mondo damage the first time I fought this thing, because I was so panicked that I completely missed the zip rails on the buildings that allowed me to actually dodge the damn attack. Of course, once I actually did notice them, the fight in general went a lot smoother for me. And the more I think about this fight, the more I appreciate how it mixed things up. It's big, yeah, but you're able to use your superior agility in this fight. Not to mention, it shows that there's more to a fight rather than just exposing the weak point. And that last hacking maze at the end of the fight is the cherry on top. You know what they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Following the info that Diana received from 8, the 4th sector of the game takes you into the Luna Mines. And throughout the mines, you deal with sections with decreased gravity, encounter that icky, gross, dead filament for the first time, pick up a few new toys to help you deal with all the rampant robots around here, and...
What? Oh, hi, scary metal space worm jump scare.
Well. Looks like Edis has been keeping a gigantic mechanical pet around the moon. This is the Luna Digger, and you're going to become very well acquainted with this thing throughout the level. Anytime you come in direct contact with the lunar surface, you're going to run the risk of alerting this thing, and it ain't friendly. You're going to have to dodge, shield, and generally try to stay out of this thing's way, or have to hack your way out of its maw. And while you can get an achievement for doing enough damage to drive it off, you're not destroying this thing right away. You gotta make your way down to the Nexus Tower where Edis is housed in hopes of shutting that AI down, but of course, who should the machine put in your way but its goddamn pet? Only this time, it's to the death. Initially, you can use the fallen buildings as a vantage point to hack it so that you can aim at its first weak point in its mouth. Meanwhile, its attacks in Phase 1 aim to bring you down to its level. First, there's a volley of missiles that cover a wide area, leaving you scrambling for a safe zone. Another attack is a powerful laser that can carve up the building you're standing on, leaving you open for it to try to swallow you up on the ground. Keep the weak point exposed, and eventually you'll make it overheat, leaving it open for a crit. At this point, it will also start sending out digibit drones to move in on you. But remember the missiles from the Garden Keeper? And other enemies? Yeah, you can hack these drones the same way to deal some big damage. During this phase of the fight, the armor on the Luna Digger's body will start peeling away, revealing more weak points on its body that you can expose by hacking there. Eventually, the Luna Digger will start to get desperate and start throwing out lasers and missiles at the same time. Okay, why don't more bosses and games do this? I mean, it's more harrowing for the player, but let's be honest, if it's worth doing, it is worth overdoing. This is a challenging fight, not to mention frantic, but that's what makes it great. Honestly, I'd have to say the best part about this fight, though, is the feeling of catharsis you feel from taking it down. This worm has been hounding your butt throughout the entire level, and is the only thing standing between you and Edis. So to finally have a proper fight against this thing and actually be able to beat it, yeah, it's a great feeling when the worm finally turns. Or should I say, burns.
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah!
Obviously, since there's only one boss sequence I haven't covered yet, I guess it's safe to say that these are the biggest spoilers of all, because the final boss of Pragmata absolutely stuck the landing. But before I can explain how the climax brings everything together, I gotta give you some context. Heads up now, this is gonna be lengthy. As it turns out, it picks up literally right after the Luna Digger fight. Obviously, Edis isn't just gonna let Hugh and Diana shut it down. In one last attempt to stop you, the belligerent AI turns up the gravity, leaving Hugh to suffer. Diana, however, is having none of it. Using all of her strength, she summons the power to hack into Edis and finally power down the AI. Only for it to reboot almost immediately. Or rather, for someone to reboot it. And that someone is 8. Turns out she was using Edis for her own purposes until the moonquake caused it to go berserk. And now that she's back in control, she's able to continue her own plans. To bring the dead filament to Earth. And she's decided that we've outlived our usefulness, attacking Hugh and critically injuring Diana. And as we explore experimental pragmatics in Sector 5, we learn the story of the creator of the Pragmata, Dr. Neil Higgins, a scientist who helped create Lunafilament in the first place.
Now, I won't spoil the whole thing, but let's just say I could definitely draw some parallels to a certain hedgehog's backstory.
So once Diana is repaired/upgraded, you've got one thing left to do. Make your way through the completely polluted central port, where 8 is preparing to ship her cataclysmic cargo to Earth. However, very much unlike Shadow, you're not talking this girl down. Maybe if Sage were here, I guess? Yeah, no. Instead, she fuses with a massive dead filament, assuming a squid-like form known as Idea. And her idea of saying goodbye to you is tearing you apart, whether it's with a multitude of tentacle attacks including swiping, slamming, or stabbing, or attacks using dead filament, which include a homing death ball, eruptions from the ground, and a large AoE attack. Idea is also very mobile, so you'll need to look for any opportunity when she's idle to cleanse the dead filament to open her up for a hack, so that you can target her head or her chest. Whether you focus on attacking from a distance or up close, you gotta keep her agility in mind. After taking some damage, she'll trap you in dead filament, and you'll need to hack your way out before she can get to you. This will also open her up for more damage, but she'll soon replenish her supply of the evil goop and try to deal AoE damage to you. At this point, she'll unleash new combo attacks on top of her initial arsenal, and eventually she'll drop the armor and go full offense, including a powerful slam attack and a desperate bombardment of dead filament. Not to mention a larger hacking matrix with alternating rows of red failure nodes. It's a tough fight, not to mention hectic as all hell, but eventually the battle concludes with one final QuickTime event, as Diana overpowers 8 and brings the tragic sister's story to a bittersweet end. Except, we're not done just yet. As Hugh and Diana ride the elevator towards the shuttle, the gigantic mass of dead filament takes on a life of its own, and damn is it gruesome! So if Idea is parallel to the bio-lizard, then this dead filament mass, Abiosis, is akin to Final Hazard, in that it's a spectacle to wrap everything up. But instead of super hedgehogs, we've got a super laser weapon which Diana has to charge via hacking, so that Hugh can blast the damn thing. There are several of these rounds with a good level of cinematic flair in between. And that final sequence, from Diana's last hack to Hugh's final defiant scream as he blasts the sentient goop to atoms, is incredibly satisfying. This whole final battle was just a great capstone on this whole lunar adventure. The fights are exciting, the stakes are heavy, the music is awesome, and everything that's been building up just comes to a head in the best way. Of course, I can't spoil the ending. You're on your own for that.
And I really do mean it. I wholeheartedly recommend Pragmata. In a time where it's rare for big names to roll the dice on a new IP, this game was a breath of fresh air from Capcom. Though I hope you're ready to scan your ticket for the Fields train. I'm the Quarter Guy, and until next time, the arcade is closed.
Man, it really feels like the world's falling apart, huh? Climate change leading to unbearable summers, wildfires causing smoke to drift across multiple states, parasites causing explosive diarrhea, the price of pretty much everything going up, up, up. Next thing you know, we're gonna have food additives causing people to turn into giant monsters and wreak havoc everywhere. On second thought, forget I said that. Next time, QG at the arcade, Rampage. It's game time! Hey there everyone, QG here. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, hype the video, and help share it around. Feel free to check out my live streams on Twitch or follow me on Blue Sky. If you want to help me out, you can become a channel member on YouTube or support me on Patreon. And check out the pinned comment for my current fundraisers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.